In this video, I'm going to show you how to convert your ROBOBREW over to a Camlock system for the Sparge arm, and that's coming up next. How's it going? My name's Brian. I'd like to welcome you to another video. If you'd like to learn more about electric brewing, see how-to videos like this one and all sorts of other home brewing related stuff, consider subscribing, and if you do, click that bell so you don't miss the next video when it comes out. If you're like me, whenever you're using the ROBOBREW, you'll find that this little rubber piece is very annoying. Not only does it get stuck down inside of the ball valve, if you're me and slightly tightening or gently tightening the locking nut on top is, cranking it down. I actually tore mine like the first or second brew that I did, so I had to get another one. Now, you're not going to need a ton of tools to do this modification. It's pretty simple as far as the tools go. You're going to need either a couple of crescent wrenches or a pair of pliers and a crescent wrench. As far as fittings go, what you're going to need is a female Camlock end, and that's the end that has the clamps on it, the two arms that clamp down. In my modification, I'm using a part from Brew Hardware, and they have a really nice piece that is a male Camlock with a 1/2-inch compression fitting on the other end. That's not always available everywhere. It is in the States here, but if you're in Australia or somewhere else, you might have to use two pieces to make that connection. But what you're going to look for is you're going to look for a 1/2-inch compression fitting that has a 1/2-inch male NPT thread on it, and then you'll need a Camlock that has a female NPT thread with the Camlock fitting that goes into the clasp part on the other end. Now, probably the hardest part of doing the entire modification is getting the ring off of the Sparge arm. It's fairly easy if you take a pair of pliers and you actually grab the ring at the base and grab the opening of the Sparge arm with the other one and squeeze down and pop it up out of the groove, and then hold that part with your finger, go around the other side, pop that part out with the groove, and then you can slide it off of there. Once you do that, then you can take off the nut that is the lock nut for it. This is an optional step, but one of the modifications that I did, I took a piece of heat shrink tubing, and the size that I used was for, in the US here, is a 12 gauge to 4 gauge wire. What you can use to gauge that is I took a small racking cane, 3/8 racking cane, and it will just barely fit over that. So what I did was I measured that and cut it off so that it will fit over the arms of the female portion that goes on the ROBOBREW. And you can either use a heat gun. I went primitive on it and just used a little lighter. And then you shrink that down. And the reason why I did that is because when you are using the ROBOBREW and you get to that mash out step where you're going to be actually taking the arm off, those arms on that female Camlock are going to be pretty hot because you're going to be ramping up to 170 degrees. So that heat shrink tubing is going to provide you with a little bit of protection so you don't burn your fingers. So once you do that, then simply it's a matter of putting some Teflon tape on the ball valve, and you want to go in a clockwise fashion on that because whenever you screw the Camlock on, you're going to be going in a clockwise fashion as well. So you want it to actually twist the Teflon tape on. If you put it on the other way, it'll actually try to peel it off. So you want to make sure you do that. Then hold the ball valve with your crescent wrench as you turn it on. And as you tighten it down, you can use the arms. You really don't need a wrench on the Camlock itself. You can just tighten that down by using the arms kind of like you would a wing nut or something like that. Tighten it down until you get it pretty close, and then make sure you line it up so that the arms on the Camlock don't interfere with the sidewalls of the ROBOBREW, and you should be good with that part. Moving on to the modification for the Sparge arm, depending on what type of fittings you have. In my case, I had the all-in-one unit with the Camlock and the compression fitting on it. Try to find one with the same size hole or a full bore, they call it, all the way through. Those are not as common, but just understand that if you do find one that has a smaller hole, it's going to restrict that flow. The other thing about the compression fittings, if you can get one that has a nylon sleeve in it, you're certainly much better off because that's going to actually crimp down and make a tighter seal. There is a groove around the Sparge arm where that ring goes that held on the twist part of the lock. If you don't get a nylon ferrule, there's a good chance it could leak. Now, some people are combating that. You can put just a simple wrap of Teflon tape around that groove if you have to get a stainless steel ferrule or a copper ferrule or whatever the case may be. So you can combat that way, and that seems to work for some folks that I've seen. So what you're going to do is you're going to slide the nut for the compression fitting up onto the Sparge arm first. Then you can put on the ferrule. Might be a good idea to put the ferrule on, slide it down into the actual body of the compression fitting itself, and see how far down it goes in there, and then that's going to tell you whether or not you're going to need to put any kind of Teflon tape around that groove. If that groove is up near the top of the ferrule where the nut goes on, you may go ahead and do that just to make sure you don't have any leaks. Once you get all that done, tighten it down real nice and tight, and then you're ready to install it on the ROBOBREW, check for leaks, and make sure everything is working properly. Now, there was a question from Sean on the ROBOBREW Facebook user group over on Facebook, and he was asking me about how to turn the sparge arm whenever you're done sparging or whatever, and you're going to pull the basket up out of there. All you have to do with that is just simply release the two Camlock arms on the female part that's on the ROBOBREW. It'll slide out of the way, and then you can just tighten it back down if you want to, or you can just leave it loose, and then if you need to move it back around, you can do that. You shouldn't have any issues with anything leaking out because everything will have, you know, followed gravity and gone back down into the ROBOBREW itself, so you shouldn't have any issues with that. Speaking of the ROBOBREW group on Facebook, if you have a ROBOBREW and you're not a part of that group, go over there and check them out. A bunch of really great guys over there. Awesome group they've got over there. They're always sharing recipes and everything. And from what I understand, I've seen some posts that Keg King is a big supporter of that group. Not here in the States, but down in Australia. I know that they're having some competitions where if you win a competition, a beer competition with a beer that was brewed on the ROBOBREW, there are some chances for some prizes, and that starts the beginning of next year. So go over there and check out that group and join it up. They're a bunch of nice guys over there. If you have any questions about this modification or have an idea for a further modification that you might like to see me do on a video, leave a comment in the comment section down below, and be sure to check out the description. I'll have links to all of the components that I use to modify this system, as well as some links for those of you that are not in the United States. I'll try to search out some links and put some links down in there in the description below for you. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Be sure to remember to subscribe. If you do, be sure and hit that bell so you don't miss the next video. This has been Brian for Short Circuited Brewers. We will see you on the next video.